Yeah, I rocked the mullet in the 90s. I was, you think, you know, not the Billy Ray Cyrus mullet. I had the John Tiller bass player for Duran Duran mullet.
Nice.
I was killing it.
Welcome, everybody, to Song Swap Showdown. We are back with another live show to kick off our season 4. Amanda, how are you?
Season 4. You've been putting up with me for 4 seasons for Baglio.
Oh, 100%. Definitely. It's been 4 seasons of absolute craziness. And I think what we did, what was the stat? I think it was 279 songs we swapped last year. Not each, but all together, we swapped about 279 songs, talked about them, reviewed them. So that's a lot of music, which is only like, when you look at it, it's like not even a drop in a bucket of the amount of music out there. But that's a lot of music to listen to and review and react to and give our ratings to. So real quick for everybody, if you're brand new to the show, I'm just gonna let you know how the show typically works, right? So for our longtime listeners, community, you guys know this. So how the show normally works is Amanda and I each swap 3 songs with each other that we don't think the others heard before. And those songs are based on a theme that is chosen by spinning the wheel of themes at the end of every single show. And wherever that lands, that sets the stage for the songs that Amanda and I are going to be swapping with each other. We then rate those songs on a scale of 1 to 5 records, with 1 being a dumpster fire.
Get out of here.
Get out of here.
Be gone. Be
launch
gone.
Launch it into the sun.
Gone.
I'm going to stomp on it with my country boots.
These boots were made for stomping.
That's right. That's a 1 record song. All the way up to 5 records, which is heavenly music to our ears. That is right. It is going to be it's a song dressed in all white cowboy rhinestone.
It's the Rhinestone Cowboy song.
Right, it's a Rhinestone Cowboy song. That's a 5 record. That's going on the Eternal playlist.
Yes, it is.
The Eternal playlist. That's a song we never get sick of hearing. That's a 5 record song. Like Desert Island song, which, by the way, we just did Amanda's top 10 Desert Island songs, which is up now on our channel. So check that out. But that is a Desert Island song. That's a 5 record song. Thanks for chilling with us, too, during a little holiday break. You may have noticed that even on our audio feed, we were dropping some new things as well, which I guess weren't so new, but they were videos that we had made for our YouTube channel and then decided to publish them on our audio feed. So we've been doing these quick hits. So, yeah, let us know if you like those quick hits, because I think we're going to kind of keep dropping those out throughout the year, which will be just individual song reviews that we've done. So we're planning on doing a little bit more of that, and we're putting some more videos up on the YouTube channel as well, so make sure you subscribe there if you want to watch those videos. And of course, you could watch full episodes of Song Swap Showdown anytime you want on demand on YouTube. So if you're not subscribed there, hit that subscribe button, smash that bell, do all the things so that way you get notified when we put up new videos, and we go live every Monday at 8:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And of course, you can always listen to us on the go anywhere you get podcasts. So man, we are excited, and here's something. So we've got a very special guest with us today. I'm really excited to bring him on. This is something that I know we talked about this during our holiday break, and it's something that we've actually been asked a lot of. Like our community, you guys are just awesome. And I know we normally spin the wheel of themes to pick the following week's theme, right?
Yeah.
But we made a special occasion, because this is our first episode of 2024.
Yes.
We decided to feature 90s country songs. This has been a big thing. People have been asking us, like, when are you guys doing a 90s country episode? And so Amanda, in her infinite wisdom and creative soul, was like, let's kick off 2024 with a 90s country themed episode. So
it's true. And it goes more like this. Chris, can we pretty please do a country's 90s episode? And there was no convincing. Chris, as usual, just says, fine. Okay, sure, whatever. So here he is. And one of my best remarks that you have sent to me through the preparation for this particular show was, I now know how you feel when we do a metal show. And I was like, finally, he understands. I feel like I have the advantage on this one. The prep for this show was very minimal for me because I knew almost all the songs.
Yeah.
And it just was a lot of fun to be able to dive into a decade of time that I just really loved. And that is when my real, true connection to country happened. I mean, my dad listened to country growing up, right? So like I heard some of the old time stuff, but boy, oh boy, to be able to choose it as a 90s person on my own and fall in love with certain music over the other music, it just was so fun to nestle into 90s country. And so here we are, fast forward to 2024, we're featuring it. Who would have thought?
Swapping country song, 90s country song.
And I'm curious if you are going to give any 5 record ratings today. I feel like it is very low probability, but I'm holding out hope that maybe something on this list just pulled and tugged at you ever so slightly that maybe we can at least get close to 5 records.
Well,
which your face indicates maybe not.
Well, listen, I'm going to be perfectly honest, and I can't wait to get our guest on. And like just 1 more minute, I'm going to bring our guest on because I know
it's a big one.
Yeah, he's going to weigh in a lot on this. But I'm just going to set the stage real quick for everybody. So just so everybody knows, like, I am not a hater of country music. Like, I am not, you know me. Like, I love music, right? But obviously, I'm a fan of certain things. And this show, the history of the show is predicated on the foundation that Chris is the rock, metal, punk, hardcore guy, right? And you are the country, pop, Christian stuff. Like, and that's where the foundation of the show lies, is that while we're really good friends, we both listen to 2 different kind of styles of music, which is why the show works the way it does, right? But that being said, I am not a country music hater by any stretch of the imagination. It's just not a genre that I really have dove into. And during the 90s in particular, I was full on like punk, hardcore, like
so true.
Like it's all I was kind of consuming, and still metal because I grew up metal. And so country was not on my radar at all. So I know while for the rest of the world and the rest of America was very, 90s country, very big, huge mainstream successes, lots of breakouts. It's like a world that I don't know anything about. I recognize some names. Like I know Garth Brooks and I know the big ones, Tim McGraw. Like I know these names, right? But I couldn't, you could say, Chris, name a Tim McGraw song. And other than Today, like I couldn't name one off the top of my head. I just don't know it. It's just not my thing, right? Much like I would say, hey, name a Metallica song, Amanda. And like, now you know Master of Puppets from Stranger Things, but you wouldn't have known that before.
Nope.
So yeah.
Absolutely not. And that's why we probably needed a little bit of help for Chris on today's episode. So we pulled in the big guns.
We asked for a friend.
we called our friend. It's like we were on a video game. We called the lifeline of a friend, and we are so excited for him to join us today, Mr. Jeff McMahon, who has the most fascinating history in his musical career. He has such a dent into 90s country. He has played on big stages and also loved playing on small stages. He has played with big stars while also introducing some newer stars and mentoring them. So Jeff, welcome to the Song Swap Showdown. Thank you for being our bailout for Chris today on our Country 90s special.
That's right.
Well, I don't know that I don't know if I left a dent or was dented by the 90s, but this was fun. It was funny when you mentioned me participating in this conversation because I was playing bands and stuff through the 90s, but only when I started thinking about the theme of your show did I kind of realize, my first country band was in 89, and then I moved to Nashville in 91. So yeah, it's definitely my formative years for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. And someone who you've played with for many a days has 2 songs on this list, and that is Tim McGraw. So I'm excited for you to dive into that relationship and that opportunity that you had with such a big contributor to 90s country.
Yeah, that was a big part of my story. And toured with him through the 90s, and then after the 90s and the 2000s, I also then played a lot of those records. So, and one of the things I'm kind of curious about, you said that normally your topics come out of the wheel of things.
Yes.
90s country. Do you know why that was a topic for people that they wanted to hear about?
You know, I just think it comes down to, you know, people get nostalgic a lot, especially, you know, in music, right? People start to yearn for, you know, some of the days of old. And I think just 90s in general right now, like almost everything 90s seems to be making a really big, like, resurgence. I think because it's like, hey, every generation that comes after wants to discover like what, you know, the previous generation was into, like, you know, as far as even like their parents and stuff. And I think 90s country in particular was a real, like, from what I remember, right? Because I mean, listen, you were in it, like you lived it, you were in it. But like from my point of view, like being a total outsider, it seemed to me like 90s country from a mainstream level is like what really was sort of that time that there was a lot of breakout stars, and like 90s country actually there was a lot of crossover with pop and all that. Whereas I feel like it wasn't so much like that in the 80s. I mean, I could be completely wrong. It's just an outsider looking in, you know? Yeah. And I think people like want to talk about that and rediscover and talk about that music again.
You know, I know that there's lots of conversations about the crossover stuff. I don't think that's true.
Okay.
Because I know that in the 70s we had Sheena Easton singing with Kenny Rogers. The Bellamy Brothers were on the pop charts. You know, and more recently we had Jennifer Nettles singing with Bon Jovi, and they performed on the ACM Awards and were nominated for a Country Grammy and a Rock and Roll Performance Award. Right. So I can't speak to this truthfully, but maybe Chris, this will kind of bail you out a little bit on metal thing. Yeah. I think a lot of what went on in the 90s, I mean, certainly it's the tap part. You know, I played in my first bar band in 1989, and that band would be the small band that opened for a lot of people at Billy Bob's in Fort Worth, Texas, which is near where I grew up. And we opened for Alan Jackson, who had his first hit. Clint Black came out. Garth came out. Travis Tritt came out. All of that happened at the same time. Now, what I think is overlooked is what also happened in the 90s that affected you, Chris. In 91, they changed the way they recorded the record sales. So they started using SoundScan, which means every time a record was purchased, they logged it properly. Immediately after that, Garth Brooks' Rope in the Wind opened at number 1. So everyone realized, oh my gosh, there is a big country audience that we've been not paying attention to.
Such a good point.
At the same time, Chris, Skid Row came in at number 1.
That's right.
And it wasn't that is it 18 in Life? It wasn't that record.
Yeah, 18 in Life was on that record, and so it was like I Remember You and Youth Gone Wild. That was their debut record was huge. Yeah. Right.
So a lot of genres, you know, probably punk and stuff too was affected, started getting their due on record sales that were not normally acknowledged. So in the 90s, all those country artists were kind of foreseen. Yeah. And I don't know to what degree this affected it, but in 2001, at the end of the 90s, the iPod came out and everybody stopped buying albums and started buying one song at a time. So that may be a big part of that conversation as to why the 90s got singled out as an era. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a great theory and great way of looking at it for sure. It's just one of those things too, and Amanda and I talk about this all the time, and I know Jeff, you see this too. Is like with TikTok right
Yes.
now happens to be one of the biggest ways to discover music right now. I mean, much like how when we were growing up, it was radio.
Mhm.
That was our big way of discovering music, and then even then MTV. But now, like
Right.
for the younger generation, which makes absolute sense in the world to me, TikTok is where they're discovering music. So
Yeah.
when they hear things like 90s country songs being used and all that, then all of a sudden it's like anything, you hear one or two tunes, it's a gateway, and you go, let me go listen to more, and then before you know it, they're going on, they're watching music videos, they're using the songs, and then now they're opening up to a whole discovery of like, wow, look at all these artists that like I didn't even know existed, or that I was maybe not even a fan of this music. So I think TikTok has been a real gateway, I think, for a lot of newer and then also older music discovery.
And I will say one of the trends that are really popular right now is children who were kids with listening ears, listening to the music of the 90s with their parents in the car. And there's
Right.
so many videos of them now at an older age listening to that same music, and that 90s. It's now the time that they would be old enough to start experiencing and understanding what those songs actually meant and why their parents maybe felt so convicted by them. And so it's really fun. And I think that it's just kind of the decades have went by, that it's all kind of fallen into place, that the listening ears now have the story behind why that song means something. There's some kids in tow, there's some marriages falling apart, some broken trucks, some lost dogs, all the things that country just pulls at your heartstrings and gets those triggers going.
Well, I mean, I do think that's true. And certainly TikTok is a new tool for people. I don't know if it's so much about TikTok being the new gateway, or if it's just about the fact that there are other gateways. Kate Bush was just inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because of a song that was on Stranger Things. That's what put her back on the radar. And
absolutely.
And I think some of the new interest in some of that older music, even like the this better than I do, but there was a Fleetwood Mac song that caught fire on TikTok and wound up back on the pop charts as a result. Having nothing to do with country, but having to do with people listening to what came behind them. And I think part of that is because people have gotten musically bored, because as the music has gotten a little more homogenized, they'll put maybe a little electronic loop in a Luke Bryan song, so it will still get included on a playlist with Britney Spears, so it sounds a little bit a little bit the same, because everybody's trying to get a bigger audience, and it makes the music sound similar. So you wind up with Luke Combs recording Fast Car, and it goes to the top of the charts again. So I think TikTok's a big part of it. I just think that's part of the story. Yeah,
I like it. So I think what a perfect segue into getting into some of this 90s country and deep diving into each one of our choices. And so normally, like Chris said earlier, we choose 3 songs a piece and we swap them with each other. But because we have our very special guest, we decided to narrow that down to 2 a piece. And we will all rate them. And it's just going to be one fun rating, 90s Fest. And I'm here for it.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So we're going to be able to rate the songs. And of course, listen, play along at home. We'd love to hear. If you're watching us live, weigh in. Let us know what your rating would have been on a song. Or if you're catching us, once again, if you're catching us on demand on YouTube, or you're listening on any kind of device where you can get podcasts, let us know as well. Usually on Spotify, we'll put a poll up there. And then, of course, in YouTube, you can leave comments. So we'd love to hear what you guys all think. Did we get it right? Do you agree? Do you not agree? And what songs should have made the list that weren't talked about on the show? And I'll tell you this. I put it out to the community. And boy, did you guys all step up and send me... Because I started doing my own research. I'm like, man, I don't know. And the thing is, once again, we try to say what songs do we not think the others heard before? Of course, I feel like Amanda has heard like everything, but I don't know. So I'm looking for songs and I'm like, I don't know. And then all of a sudden the community stepped up and I got flooded with tons of great requests. So I want to say thank you to everybody for giving me songs to like work from. And I actually used my 2 songs that I have picked are community suggestions. So I really am thankful for it. So thank you everybody for stepping up and helping the resident punk hardcore metalhead guy sift through some 90s country songs. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
So with that spirit in mind of putting Chris through the torture that he usually puts me through, why don't you start with your first song that you sent to Jeff and I, which is Bubba Shot the Jukebox.
That's right. Bubba Shot the Jukebox. Yeah. So this was a suggestion from my good friend JB. A big all around like just fan of music, but definitely when I put it out there, he was like one of the first to drop it. He's like, you got to put Bubba Shut the Jukebox on your playlist. So I was like, all right. So I listened to the song and I liked it. I thought it was fun. I had personally never heard it before. So I thought it was a fun song and I liked the lyrics, and it's kind of like this fun tune about, this guy that gets mad about the song that came on the jukebox that reminds him of like past love, and he goes out and, gets his 45 and shoots the jukebox. And I go, this is like a scene right out of a movie, like I enjoyed it. And that's
make my day.
Yeah. And it's a fun tune. I thought it was cool. I had not been familiar with Mark Chestnut or any of his previous work. Like, it just, once again, not a guy who knows a lot of the artists. So this was all new for me. This was a whole new experience listening to the song, listening to him. And, I kind of liked it. So that's why it made my list. Like, I thought it was cool of all the songs I listened to. So that's why I offered it up to you guys to share and see what you all thought of Bubba Shot the Jukebox by Mark Chestnut.
Well, when you sent me this list of that song, and I said, that's a really good suggestion for Chris. So bravo to who recommended it to JB, because
JB.
I like the spirit of that song for you. I think, we also often talk about jukeboxes, and if our playlist, which everyone can get on Spotify, look for the new 2024 one. If our playlist was on a jukebox, how eclectic it would be. And so now this one will be on there. And sometimes you're just in a mood that you don't want to hear that type of country song on the radio when your heart is broken and you don't want to be reminded of past love. So this was a very fun song for me in the 90s. I will say, is it my favorite Mark Chestnut song? No. I do like some of his other ones. My favorite is probably Going Through the Big D, and I don't mean Dallas, is about divorce. And Marcus likes to sing that song.
Okay.
He's like, because he was in Dallas a couple weeks ago. He's like, yep, I'm going through the big D. And I was like, yeah, but it will mean Dallas. Remember, you're not allowed to divorce me. It's not part of the plan, Marcus, but boom. So I have good memories of a lot of his collection of music. This one is really, really fun. I think for a woman, we didn't necessarily connect to this song probably the same way that a man does. So I tapped my toe to it and I sung it and I thought it was fun. But some of the other songs out of the 90s kind of, struck that chord with me a little bit more as far as connection. So Jeff, what do you think about Bubba Shot the Jukebox?
Well, I mean, first of all, it can be about a lost love, but it can also be about a good old Texas boy being a problem solver. I mean,
yes.
I say that being a Texas boy.
Just take care of business.
That's right.
Yeah. You recognize the problem, you solve the problem, and you move on. That's who you want.
I love
taking care of you in your household. The thing with that song is it's a really solid 2-step song.
Mm.
Yes.
When you were playing in clubs back then, unlike now, where a lot of times the break music between if you're in a bar band and you play a set, the DJ plays, then you come back. Now a lot of it's R&B stuff, pop stuff they play in the breaks. But back then in the 90s, you still had lots of just the beginning of what would explode as line dancing, and people were still looking to dance waltzes and the two steps and all of those country dances during the
Mm.
break. So
love that.
so this would be one of those songs that immediately filled the floor while you were on break, unless it was already on your playlist, in which case they'd still probably play it again. So and then of course one of the things that we'll probably discover as we kind of go through some of these songs is in that era, a lot of the records were made by the same players. The songwriters that were involved were very successful, and you'll use a lot of times would see some of the common locations. Chestnut was coming out of Beaumont, Texas, as was Tracy Bird at the time. So there was a lot of folks coming out of that area. So yeah, Chestnut's awesome and definitely old school and still out doing it. So
yeah, one of the things that I had found, because I you know, for listeners of the show, I do like to try to do the history and go look and get some facts. But and this was something that I had read, and then Jeff simultaneously sent us some videos. But so this song was written by Jeff Lindy, and he is
Dennis Lindy.
Dennis Lindy. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm reading the wrong thing here. I got too many things up on my screen. Dennis Lindy, and he's a songwriter based in Nashville who has over 250 songs recorded. Like, that's staggering.
amazing.
And best known for writing 1972's Elvis Presley's Burning Love, which I know is near and dear to Amanda's heart, being a big Elvis.
Oh, yeah.
Elvis fan.
Hunka hunka burning love.
Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. And I think you see that a lot too, right, Jeff? I mean, you see a lot of, you know, different songwriters where, I mean, it's nothing new in music, but I feel like you see that a lot with country, where it's like somebody writes a song and then, you know, even you see like they maybe wrote it like 20 years ago, and then all of a sudden this country artist, they then take the song, rearrange it, and it becomes like a huge hit, you know? And I always find that fascinating.
Well, you also find a lot of collaborations with a lot of people assume that you're a country writer, and the truth is you're a songwriter. You know, nobody would assume that Dennis Lindy wrote Bubba Shot the Jukebox and also How Time Slips Away. And they certainly wouldn't assume that he wrote a song for the movie Grease 2. So you know, so a lot of fans don't realize that these creators work with a lot of people in a lot of different spaces, but it's true.
Yeah,
and you know,
one
thing that
go ahead.
I was going to say, and one thing that I found was very interesting. This charted before it was even basically like due to be released, because DJs and radio stations just started giving it airtime, and it started charting before. Was that on your list? Oh man, I didn't mean to steal your thunder. I'm sorry.
No, it's good. No, I'm glad you said it, because that's the other fact that I uncovered. But I always love when I hear stories like that too. Like DJs are like, we're playing what we want to play. Stop pushing it. We like this single, not the other one.
And then you know your community.
Yeah.
And it may very well be that the DJ that spun it is working in a club on the weekends and saw what happened on the dance floor.
Oh, great point. Yeah, you're right. I didn't even think of that point. That's actually really interesting. I never thought of it. I mean, I know that you usually hear things like that a lot, and like, you know, they'll be like, oh, the New York club scene, and you know, exactly, the DJ was spinning this and people, but I never think about it from the other side, which is like, you know, country and things like that. And it's like that's a really great point, Jeff. That's a good one.
Such a good point. Well, before we give our official ratings, Chris, did you want to play a little bit?
Yeah, let me play a little bit of
Bubba Shot the Jukebox.
Yeah, let me play a little bit of this so everybody can hear.
Cue up that twang.
Queued up. Good guitar riff.
We were all down at Margie's bar, telling stories if we had one. Someone fired the old jukebox up. The song it sure was a sad one. Teardrop rolled down Bubba's nose from the pain the song was in.
Good.
You can visualize it.
I visualize all of it.
He jumped to his feet, just like somebody kicked him. Bubba shot the jukebox last night.
And then imagine the story going around town.
I know what you're saying too, Jeff, about the two-step.
Bubba shot the jukebox last night.
Yeah, it's a good one. I like this song. It had a good feel to it, and like, yeah, I didn't know how to say it right, but you're right, Jeff. The two-step definitely, I think, is what makes it like that fun, energetic, like danceable type of a tune.
Yeah,
for sure.
I like it.
Yeah.
Super
All
fun.
right.
All right.
So
where do I rate it?
Where do you rate it on a scale of 1 to 5 records, Amanda Sharp?
I'm going to give this one because, again, it's not my favorite Mark Chestnut song, but I'm going to give this like a 3.9. It's not quite in the 4 range.
Okay.
But I like it. I'll listen to it. I'm not going to skip it, but it's not going on my eternity playlist or anywhere near my eternity playlist. So that's where it's slightly under a 4. Jeff, where do you think your rating
better than mediocre?
Better than mediocre for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I can't be hypocritical. So, and we're not just talking about. I just kind of more acknowledging the body of work, but I am not going to give somebody that has at least 2 Elvis cuts and Mel Pfeiffer's first movie less than a 4. So I'm gonna give him the full 4.
All right, the full 4 records. There you go.
I like that so
Jeff
much.
with the full 4.
That's where the reasoning and the artist in our panel today is weighing in. Where I'm more emotion. I like this approach, Jeff. I'm really digging it.
I do too. I like it a lot as well. So thank you, Jeff. And thank you, Amanda, for the 3.9 and a 4 record rating for Bubba Shot the Jukebox.
I love it. All right, Jeff, do you want your first song to us to go next?
Hey, this is your show.
Let's do you.
We can do that.
Yeah,
okay.
let's have our guest pick.
So what was your first song to us to swap, Jeff?
So I'll start with a song called Next Thing Smokin'.
Okay.
It was off of one of Joe Diffie's early records. I always felt like Joe Diffie was underrated. A lot of people recognized him. He had a lot of huge hit records, big performances, but was never one of the top ticket draws. But this particular song, I played it in my bar band before I moved to Nashville. It was written by Joe and a guy named Danny Morrison and Johnny Slate. Both of them managed Joe Diffie at the time. They also managed Tim McGraw at the time. And Diffie was the first tour that I ever went on. We were opening for him, and that was one of the songs that they played on that show. So I had already been playing it, but they played it there. So it's a big part of my story and a killer tune. So, and I'm still friends with some of the guys that were in his band at that time, which was in 94. So, that song's a big part of my story. So Next Thing Smokin'.
I love that. So basically 30 years ago, you were playing alongside that song. So when you say, I guess, take me back to that time when you are on the stage and you are such a huge part of what the world has experienced. How does that feel to you as an artist?
Well, at that time, Tim did not have a hit yet. So we were, Joe had written a song on Tim's record called Memory Lane. And, he was trying to help Tim. They had shared interests with the same management company and all. So it's an opportunity for me to learn, not as a one-off. I mean, we had opened some shows for some other artists, but not necessarily share the same stage. At Billy Bob's, we would be on a separate, smaller stage. With Joe, we would be on the same stage, and I would become friends with guys that were playing with him that had done bigger things than I had and had people to learn from. So, but as far as my experience with Tim, we were still another year away of people knowing our songs before they got to the show. So, but very cool, very fun. Yeah.
Very, very cool. And so I like the reasoning behind choosing this song because some of them some of our listeners might know some of his bigger hits, like Pickup Man, which I love.
Right.
There's something women like about a pickup man. Like that. What a catchy little song. And, remind me, he totally rocked the mullet in the 90s, correct?
Yeah, I rocked the mullet in the 90s. I was, you think, not the Billy Ray Cyrus mullet. I had the John Tiller bass player for Duran Duran mullet.
Nice.
I was killing it.
Well,
but yeah, no, he totally did. And yeah, I mean, Joe had great songs, Ships That Don't Come In. I mean, he certainly had great songs, but I mean, in fairness, I thought part of the exercise was to put things on the table that you might not know about yet. So I was trying to introduce a few things. So yeah.
Yep. And so you had a little bit more of a challenge trying to find a song for me that I didn't know, where I knew I could throw these on my radar, my choices for Chris. And they were, even though they're very popular songs, he probably hadn't heard them. So I respect that you dug deep. And I really enjoyed Joe Diffie growing up. I really did. He had that unique sound that really isn't duplicated. He really kind of has his own unique stuff. And I'm curious to see when, Chris, you brought up that image of, yes, thank you. It says regular Joe Diffie. Is there a story behind the regular Joe that you're aware of, Jeff? Like, is he just like a person who just was a regular guy who just people ended up falling in love with his music, and he was just like, hey, I'm just regular Joe. It's no big deal.
Not that I know of. I mean, certainly the term regular Joe we've all heard. I know when he first came to town, he worked at a guitar company and was singing demos, as was Garth Brooks, as was Trisha Yearwood, as was Billy Dean, all trying to find their way and get their voice heard. But no, as far as, did the industry recognize him as regular Joe? Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. That's interesting. And I don't know, did you see Chris's comment that popped up there, just Jeff?
Yeah. So let me bring that back up. So yeah. So Chris Whiteguy saying, you guys are on the spot now. How do you not give him 5 records for a song that he was part of that intimately?
I mean, you're not wrong, Chris.
No, you're not wrong, Chris. I do want to just bring this back up again, because I think this is great. This is by one of the reasons why Jeff. So this is, how my mind works. When you sent the song and I looked at it and came out on Spotify and this was the cover, I go, immediately I was already like drawn to this, because I just dig this look is like 90s country for me, but I also just love like the total like blue collar feel of that, and I knew like even before listening to the song, I was like, all right, I got a feeling I'm gonna like this song, and I'm just gonna go into it. I mean, I never heard Joe Diffie, don't know this song, but I mean, I really enjoyed this song. I thought it was cool, and I really liked the riff, man. This was a cool sounding tune for sure. And then, just finding out too that the song charted number 16 on the Billboard Hot Country singles and tracks. I think that's always great. I always love seeing where the songs wound up charting. Where was the level of popularity, especially for songs that I'm not familiar with. So I thought this was. I really enjoyed listening to this song. This one I listened to quite a few times, because again, it was all new for me, like all new. So this is me hearing this stuff for the first time, and it really stuck out. I dug it. It was definitely a good jam for me. So thanks for sharing that.
Well, I mean, and you can tell just by virtue of what you're saying, this is the kind of song that the players would like. Because we really got to flex.
Oh yeah,
I got to really do a lot of stuff on it, and
there's a great piano, a lot of great piano parts in this
performance thing. Yeah.
Oh, such
okay.
A
Now,
good
Chris,
point.
you're confusing me though, just because you keep talking about how you don't know. Amanda knows all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. But I looked at the top 5 songs reviewed for 2023.
Yeah.
You had 2 country songs listed on yours.
She
didn't have any. So
I know.
How do you keep saying, well, I don't know anything. I don't pay attention.
I only know the songs that Amanda gives me. So
okay.
But this era though, in particular though, Jeff, like So Amanda, I think we do a good job, like really giving songs to each other that we don't like. Once again, we don't think the others heard before, and then also things that like not only that I heard before, but I think she might like or something, and so on and so forth. So, and because we've been doing this show now four seasons, like we're starting to we're just finally starting to zero in on the little pieces of music that we're like, I think Chris will like this because of this, and I think Amanda will like this because this part and all that.
Yeah.
So. Yes, I did have, because I actually like those songs. And so my musical palette has expanded because of doing the show. But still this era of 90s, like country, like I don't like these artists. I just don't know. Like they're just all new for me. I mean, yes, the Tim McGraws and like the really big headline guys in my eyes, they're headline artists. Like I'm familiar with the names, but like Joe Diffie isn't somebody who was ever on my radar, but I dig this song, and now I'm kind of like, maybe there's more maybe Joe Diffie stuff I'm gonna dig because this song's cool. So
I agree. I think so. So let's play a little bit of this a Joe Diffie piece of art that
next thing smoking.
Which what a great name.
Yeah, it's a great name. I mean, even this
you just get right into it.
It's fast.
I could just you're driving down the road.
It's a fast tune.
Well, I don't know where I'm going, and I don't even care. But come tomorrow morning, you won't find me anywhere. I'll be gone.
Great harmonies, too.
Long. You'll be calling me back, girl, but I'll be making tracks, baby. I'm gone.
I love the topic of the theme of this song, too. It's great.
Baby, I'm leaving on the next thing smoking.
I like how both you and Jeff are both like camping along.
It's a really well written song.
It's the art of being able to like sing a song about I'm gonna be gone and make it sound so fun. It's just such an art.
Oh, it's a good one. I don't want to cut it short during the solo, but it is a good one. You guys, definitely, once again, go check out these songs in full. They're on our Spotify playlist. We started a new one for this season, so just go to Song Swap Showdown 2024 playlist. That is on Spotify. And, of course, if you don't have Spotify, then look them up. They're all on YouTube. They're all everywhere. Go listen to these, support these artists, because this is great stuff. So I dig this song. I could actually see this song, too. Like, so in my head, I'm always like, if they remade a movie today or, like, they redid a soundtrack, like, this would be in Smokey and the Bandit. 100% this would be in Smokey and the Bandit. Like, that's exactly how I would see this. Like, this is a perfect Smokey and the Bandit song.
Yeah, you're getting speeding tickets with this on the radio for sure.
Oh, heck yeah.
Absolutely. That pedal, that foot is going down on that pedal a little too happily, for sure. So, Chris, where do you rate this new song that you had never heard of before?
So I dug this song, and I'm like, I would totally crank this up in my car. This is a cranker for sure, and I can see myself like, heading down 80 West, more west, going towards Pennsylvania, like when we go out there for stuff. And I would crank this one. So I'm going to give this a 4.5. I'm going to give it a 4.5.
Whoa.
I really dug it. I thought it was cool. It was like,
nice.
You know what it is too? Some of this stuff is like, because it's new for me, it sounds very refreshing from a lot of the things I typically listen to. And that also, but I like, there's a lot of great breaks and instrumental breaks and little flourishes that like really like make the song very cool. Like I agree with Jeff. That's a great way. It's like, this is a player's song. Like this is, I could see why musicians, this is like that kind, like it's got the little bits and pieces and everybody kind of gets to like their little moment to shine in the song. It's cool. It's like it's like jazz, but like country, but jazz. Because jazz has always got those like moments where
has opportunity.
Right. Everybody always has an opportunity to kind of like, show their chops a little bit. So for a song like this to like make time to show chops, I think that's cool.
Okay. So I like that. All right. So 4.5. I'm not going to be as generous, but I am going to come in at a 4.0 records. I think that is super fair. Sorry, Chris.
Chris, 90s country was just about all my wife and I would listen to when we were dating.
So, Chris, did you have a smooching song?
Ooh, good question.
Mm-hmm. Marcus and we put on Alabama. Mm-hmm. That was our smooching songs.
Which, by the way, was something we put in a community. I put in like what are some of your favorite country artists, and Josh Parr right away,
Yes, he
Alabama.
did.
That was his like
Alabama.
first one. So yeah,
Good.
there was a lot of Alabama showing up on some of those comments.
Oh yeah.
What an excellent band. So,
Yes.
all right, great ratings for Joe Diffie with
Joe Diffie.
Next Thing Smoking. Gosh, what a good pick me up song for sure. All right,
So,
guys.
All right, Amanda.
Moving on to my song that I shared with you guys. My first song to you guys, Blue by Leanne Rimes. And it's hard to say blue without going blue.
You're doing the whole like yodeling.
The yodeling. Oh, you can't help but love the yodel. Maybe?
Yeah. You know what I found really interesting about this, Amanda, was that I, especially too, because we were talking about Brenda Lee, recently during the holidays, and we made the little Brenda Lee video and all that. And I actually didn't realize Leanne Rimes was 13 years old when she did this song. Yeah. And that Brenda Lee was also like really, 13. Really young, like 11, 12 or something like that when she did Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree. So I'm like, wow, what a parallel there of like kids sounding like adults when they sing.
The kicker is they accidentally gave the wrong version of this song to the powers that be. So the version that actually became popular is when she sang it at 11.
Oh, wow.
So she was even younger.
Holy.
She was 11 years old when you hear the most popular version of her Blue.
Wow.
Blows you away because there's adults who can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. I mean, and she just doesn't sound like a kid. At least the recordings that I've heard, she doesn't sound like a kid.
Mm-hmm. It was an interesting sound for the 90s.
Well, and thank goodness she didn't sound like a kid, because the last thing you want is a signature song that's a part of your career that sounds dated 3 years later.
Ooh,
Ooh,
so smart.
Good point. Good point. I didn't even think of that, but yeah, you're right. So many artists who were like kid artists and like had their big song, and then today, like it's like sounds like a little kid
I mean, you
singing
think of you see now the TV show like from CMA Fest, where they'll show the whole concert from the Country Music Association. CMA Festival happens in the summer, and they used to call it fanfare. It was out at the fairgrounds, and I remember being there. All the artists are every year when the music and the radio stations, everybody comes in town for a weekend. And I remember her singing that song on the outdoor stage as a kid. And the thing that I am struck by still when I think about it is you see her peers at the time who would have been maybe Debbie Gibson, who was on the pop charts, and she was, I mean, she did a lot of big things, produced on records, but she still had the support of MTV and choreography and other things to support her, which is not to take anything away from her. At 16, she was making all that stuff, and she still has a career now. But to Leanne's credit, this was the song and the performance alone. It was not all the other stuff. It was just the holy crap. Listen to that voice. And so many of her other songs have been the same way. So yeah, it's she did a killer then, and still I've gotten to play for her. I played for her once at a benefit show, and she was stellar.
I know it's not the same thing, but I do follow her on TikTok. And she's always singing on her channel, and she's just singing these random songs. And I just think she seems like such a good sport to try new things and not perfect it, because she has her lane of genius musically. I mean, she has that signature sound that no one else has, but I really respect that she plays around with some of the other music sounds to, I think, just have fun, because I'm sure artists want to have fun too and not sing every song that they're going to be able to perfect like she did with Blue, which I just happen to have the CD.
Just happen to have that.
Just happen to have this here. And look at how baby she was. Just a baby.
Yeah.
And that wasn't even supposed to be the single. I think I remember reading. I think it was going to be Light, the Light in Your Eyes. I think is going to be the single that was going to be released.
Yes,
and
yeah, and this
Blue
was
ended up being the one that put her on the map and kept her there.
Yeah, it charted number 26. Actually, sorry, it charted number 10 on the country chart and then crossed over to Billboard Hot 100 at 26. So it's again another example of what we were talking about, a little bit of that crossover action going on.
Yeah.
Which, you know, and I will say, in full transparency, even though I said I don't know a lot, this is a song I did hear. Because I remember this being like a really big hit, and this was sort of crept into like the mainstream of like you'd be out somewhere and it'd be on. It would, you know, whether you're at a restaurant or like if you're out shopping or anything. Like I remember, you know, being in like the food store, like, and you'd hear like this song was on a lot. I mean, this really was a huge hit, and it was sort of seeped into like even my my purview, you know, like so. I do remember this song being a big hit, although I didn't remember that she was 13 when she did it. That was like that was like a new fact that I did not know about. And then, you know, looking into some of this stuff too, because, you know, songfacts.com has got a lot of great stuff about this song on there. But they were saying that the song was originally written by Bill Mack, a Texas-based singer and disc jockey who first released it himself in 1958 to little acclaim at the suggestion of his fellow DJ, Snuff Garrett. That's a great, by the way, Snuff Garrett. What a name. He went on to produce hits for Sonny and Cher. Mack hired a local female singer to record a demo version in 1962 and set it aside until the right voice came along, and it only took about 30 years. That's coming from songfacts.com. So the song has definitely had quite a long journey to get to the point of hitting number 10 and number 26 in 1996.
And I'm going to call BS on part of that story too, because because there is a version of 66 by a guy named Kenny Roberts. I think and I want to say there was another version of it too, but I think the reason it resonated with you when you heard it at the time was when it came out in 66, that was just 3 years after Patsy Cline was killed. So it didn't sound novel at the time. You know, it would have sounded similar, like somebody was trying to copy what she was doing. But apparently at the time, Leanne, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and the songfacts.com, which I don't know if you know this, because this is what I'm going to read what was written here. It says, many sources claim that Mack wrote the ballad for Patsy Cline, but merely pitched it to the country singer who then eventually, you know, passed away in a plane crash in 1963 before she could record it. The myth gained steam when Rhymes was hailed as the second coming of Patsy Cline after she released the ballad.
Yeah. That could be true, but being in Nashville, I will say that I could right now sit down and write a song with the intention of Tim McGraw cutting it, and Tim McGraw may never hear it, but I still wrote it thinking that he needed to cut it. So
very true.
Very true.
You know, no way knowing whether that's true, but I think that's why it caught your ear, was because it didn't sound like anything else that you had heard in the last 30 years. And that's why it broke open with Leanne. So
I think I remember my dad hearing it for the first time, and he really truly thought it was just like listening to Patsy Cline, to your point. And so I think you're really onto something, that had it been done earlier, even by her, it wouldn't have hit the same way as hearing a young lady sing it in the 90s and knowing that you hadn't heard that type of sound in decades. So I think there's some serious truth to that point.
Well, you had not heard that sound, and you had never heard it recorded technologically at the quality that it was recorded. I mean, you never heard that pure of a recording as Patsy Cline did, because all of the technology had advanced so much. So
Another quick, this is because this just goes to show like the times, how much times have changed, right? So this album, the one that you showed, debuted at number 3 in the U.S., where it sold 6 million copies and also peaked number 1 on the top country charts. Leanne Rimes is also the youngest artist to ever win a Grammy when she won Best New Artist and Best Female Country Vocal Performance of the song. And Bill Mack also took home the award for Best Country Song. But 6 million copies, like those are numbers you just don't hear anymore. Well, maybe Taylor Swift, but like as far as most artists go, it's like to sell 6 million copies of a record anymore is like, it just doesn't happen, you know? Like it's more streams and downloads.
Yeah, well, and I think that's something else to remember when we talk about the 90s country resonating with its audience, because everybody that bought that Leanne Rimes CD spent the amount of money on that CD that they spent on their Spotify subscription for the entire month.
True. Yeah.
And that is what came with that was a commitment to the music that you were listening to and a commitment to the choices you were making. You took it more seriously. You know, if you spent the same amount of money as you would on Spotify now, you would buy 12 records a year. So people were more connected to their music at the time, I think.
Oh my goodness, that's so true. You bought, and then that's why you would sometimes just buy the single instead of the whole CD or the whole record. So yeah, that's a point that we haven't quite digested before, the numbers behind the downloads. And I mean, we always say time means everything and all this stuff, but that's to put it into perspective like that, because for the same price as this CD for a month, you have access to everybody's collection.
Right.
Yeah.
That's mind blowing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let me play a little bit of Blue for all those out there who don't remember what the song sounds like. let's listen to a little bit of. There we go.
So good.
Yeah, and this definitely has that, like, what I would say, you know, as a non-country fan, I would say that this is very, like, vintage country sounding. Like, this is, like, old school country to me. Like, that's, you know, a lot of that, like, this comparison's probably not great, but I would say, like, that Roy Rogers and, like, Gene Autry kind of, like, style of stuff. Like, that's where my mind goes. That's my comparison, but, like, it definitely harkens back to that, which I think is kind of cool, because when you think about it being released in 1996 and sort of what was popular, right? This was probably if I think about it, like maybe a really good break or change of things from a lot of the stuff that was maybe being released at that time as far as singles go. And here comes something that's, young performer who has a voice of like an angel, who like pulls off like these great vocal melodies, and it's a well-written tune. So I can see why this was a hit and why it cut through. I would say maybe cut through some of the noise of what was coming out then, because
it stood alone.
Yeah, no, it definitely did. I mean, I listening back to it again for this because I hadn't heard it in a very long time. So listening to it all the way through several times was like, wow, I see why this song was a hit and what she brought to the song, as far as her vocals go. So I get it. So
I like it.
So Jeff, I'm gonna let you weigh on a rating of this song. Where do you rate Blue by Leanne Rimes at a scale of 1 to 5 records?
I'm gonna give it 4.7.
Ooh,
hey, wow, nice. Hi.
Just because I feel like there's got to be some place to go from there, but I think there's no doubt that this song established her career. I mean, this is the song. I mean, she's certainly done other great things. How Do I Live was terrific, but
that's right.
But we're not wondering. We're not sitting here going, well, what was the first one that Chestnut did? Well, was that first? Was that second? I'm not sure. We know where she came from. So
true.
And I heard her
point.
singing and kill it live when she was a child. So, yeah, that's what I'm giving her, 4.7.
I like it. All right, Chris.
That's a good rating. Yeah. So, my rating's not going to be as high as Jeff, although I agree with a lot of things that you're saying, Jeff. I mean, yeah, I just hadn't thought about the song in a while, and then when you put it on the list, I was like, oh yeah, Blue, Leanne Rimes. I know that one. And that's the thing. Like when I think of Leanne Rimes, I'm like, you even said the other song, "How Do I Live?" And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that was a song that she did.
I honestly did too.
I completely forgot about that. So I mean, Blue is the one that I think about because, and especially too that yodeling and all that. I mean, that's really the stamp on the song that she put in there. So I would say this is a song I would go back and listen to again. I do enjoy it. I think it's a little bit more of a slower kind of a song, but I like the way it feels. But I'm going to give it a 4.3. That's going to be my rating. So it's going to be over because I don't think I can give it under 4. And I think a 4.0 doesn't do it enough justice. Is it a desert island song for me? No, but I do respect it. And I think that it's a very well-written song who, once again, she brings so much to it. So I'm going to give it a bit higher than just a 4. So 4.3 for me.
Okay. Not bad. Higher from you, Chris, than I expected. And Jeff, honestly, I'll be honest, I think higher than I expected from you on that one. So very good first song for me, Blue, ranking in at 4.7 and 4.3. I like it.
There you go.
Very
So
good.
real quick, before we carry on, you know, we do like to acknowledge some of the people that go on and come on before the show starts and leave us some great comments. And we've got a couple like just super fan community supporters that just do it. So I do want to just make a little time for them. So Ian, our friend from down under from Australia, who always comes on and due to the time change here, is now when the show is on when he's asleep. So he can't enjoy the show like he does, so he's gonna have to wait till next time. So he usually comes on, watches it on demand, and leaves more comments. But before we go live, he comes on, he puts comments, and him and Dave Mattingly always put their song suggestions for us. So I'm gonna read this a little bit and give these guys some time here. So Ian saying, "Hi everyone, I put my Spurs on, but I'm off to bed. A good time for country music as the Tamworth Country Music Festival is on in Australia from January 19th through the 28th."
Nice.
So he's saying picks for Amanda. Here's Ian's picks for you, Amanda. Living in the Circle B, Dead Ringer Band. I hope I said that right. Circle B. Rip Rip Woodchip by John Williamson.
Nice
and
names.
Dancing with Elvis by Gina Jeffries.
Very
So
good.
those are his picks for you, Amanda. Picks for me, which spoiler alert, I chose one of Ian's picks. Boys from the Bush by Lee Kernigan, I think that's how you say it. Way Out West by James Blundell and James Rain cover. And Dirt Track Cowboy by Adam Brand. So those are Ian's picks for us. And then Dave Mattingly, who we want to wish a big congratulations on getting married yesterday. Dave, congratulations to you and your amazing bride. Little Dave is a super fan. He's a great supporter of the show, and we love you, Dave. So thank you. And Dave was supposed to be on our last episode of the year, but unfortunately, we had to postpone that episode. But we will get Dave on during this year for sure. But Dave, I know you're not able to watch now, but I'm sure you'll be watching repeat. But Dave, as always, great picks for all of us. So from picks for me, Freakwater Picture in My Mind. Jimmy Dale Gilmore, Headed for a Fall, and Vic Chestnut, Until the Lead. And then for Amanda, he has chosen Giant Sand, The Inner Flame, Robbie Folks, Let's Kill Saturday Night, and Southern Culture on the Skids, Camel Walk. So those are your songs from the one and only Mr. VIP, the VP of Song Swap Showdown, Dave Mattingly.
He pulls out some really eclectic
he's great
choices for us. It's fantastic.
He's great. He's actually been doing, so if you don't follow him on Facebook, I recommend, because he's been doing a song a day challenge where he's just been posting like a song every single day to check out. So go check that out. If you want to find some new music or something unique from years ago, Dave is the guy. He knows all the eclectic songs. So follow him on Facebook because, yeah, he's big music fan and always posting really great, fun music stuff. So check him out. And then Chris Weingard, check it in. Weingard answering your question, Amanda.
Okay.
When you asked what song did you smooch to, he said we did play "Love Remains" at our wedding and had all the married couples dance to it by Colin Ray.
Oh, Colin Ray. Man,
So.
that's a name I haven't heard in a while. I actually do have a CD of his somewhere too. Very good. All right. So perfect transition into your second song to us, Chris.
Yes.
Which
was Ian from Australia. His suggestion was "Boys from the Bush" by Lee Kernaghan. So, I gotta say, Ian is great. Being, I don't know too many bands from down under. Mm-hmm. Every week he comes on and gives us great suggestions of bands and artists from Australia. And I do, Ian, I just want you to know, I go on, I listen to them, and some stuff I think is really cool that you've sent us for sure. And some stuff's not my cup of tea, but that's great. That's music. And please keep the suggestions coming because I think they're great. And I love finding new, especially stuff that's not from the United States. It's always great to listen to stuff from other countries. So, and this one in particular, Boys of the Bush, Lee Kernaghan, I just found this song to be so much fun. Much like the Bubba Shot the Jukebox, I was gravitated towards it. I love the kind of country tropes are in this song, but it's just done really fun. And I feel like that you can hear the musicians in the studio having a good time doing this song.
Good point.
And I even did watch the music video, and the music video is fun.
I did too.
But I love too that like you would never other than the fact of being Boys in the Bush, right, which is like very Australian, I would say, man, you would think that this was definitely an American song, but performed by, Australian artist.
Agreed, with the only caveat that in the song it references roos, the kangaroos. Yes. It says calling out roos, and in the video it has kangaroos hopping, and
it does.
I just feel that is so funny because in Australia, kangaroos are like our deer.
Yes, they're everywhere.
Yeah. They're everywhere. And so it's so like those are the only like little minor things that I would say, okay, this isn't necessarily from the States. But I agree with you. It was a fun song.
Yeah, it had a great feel to it. And and actually he has a country artist, because didn't know anything about Lee Kernaghan, but he's a singer, songwriter, and guitarist. He's won 4 ARIA awards and 3 APRA awards, and has sold over 2 million albums as of 2021, and he has 38 golden guitars at the Country Music Awards of Australia, second to Slim Dusty, who Ian's recommended a lot of Slim Dusty stuff to us in the past. He was the 2008 Australian of the Year in recognition for support of rural and regional Australia, and was the recipient of the Outstanding Achievement Award in 2015's ARIA Awards for Spirit of the Anzacs. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, so I apologize if my pronunciation's off on that. But Boys in the Bush became his first #1 on the country charts. He said, when Garth Porter and he first wrote Boys from the Bush, I had no idea it would even be a hit. It was all a song. It was just a song about me and my mates working on the land, going to the pub, and tearing around in utes. I didn't think anyone would be that interested in us. We were just kids from the bush, but Garth said this record has to be about your life and where you come from. So we wrote that song and several others. Before long, I had a band and we were out on the road performing it then live. This was released in 1992.
I think.
Yep, 92. Yep, that's when the song was released. So it was on the record, The Outback Club, and debuted at number 94 in the ARIA charts.
And I did follow him on Instagram, and it does look like he's still doing touring, still performing.
Yeah. No, he still looks like he's very active.
And it looks like he's married to his wife that I think they got married back in 99. So they've been together for a really long time. So I love seeing like a little glimpse from a different country, somebody who would be, someone as recognizable as Joe Diffie.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really fun because you just don't often think of that, especially, I don't know. I feel like country music to me, when I think of it, is exclusive to the States, which I know is not true. But in my brain, I just feel like there's the Texas and the Tennessees and it comes together and comes out in country music, where when I think Australia, I don't think that. So it is fun to see that, like, this is there is another part of the world that enjoys country music too.
Yeah, especially. Yeah, I agree 100%. So this was a nice treat, but I'd love to, Jeff, did you know who this artist was before this?
I did not.
Okay.
I did suspect from some things that I had heard from past episodes that it had come from Ian. So thanks for the contribution, Ian. But no, I did not know him. But I did, to your point, Amanda, about talking about how it is in the other countries and things of that nature. In Nashville here, you're used to seeing people interacting, writing together, doing shows together and all that. And that was one of the fun things when I was following up on this track. That was one of the things that I also noted. It must be similar in Australia, the way they do it, because I looked up the award show where he actually won the Best Country Album Award for this. And not only was it notable that he won, what was notable also was that Keith Urban with Slim Dusty lost to him.
Yes,
that particular award. And I found both performances that he had done where Keith Urban had been playing guitar, which of course everybody now knows Keith here in the States from countless hits, American Idol, and all of the things.
Yep.
But I also found where he had Lee on stage, 8, 9, 10 years ago. So they clearly continue to orbit each other and support one another and all that, which I really appreciate seeing, because I know that that's not always the case.
Sure.
Yeah.
Egos get in the way sometimes, and I'm glad to know that it's not always the case. But I take all that as a vote in his favor, that he's been on both sides of that, with somebody else we appreciate. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I love that. So did you want to play a little bit of Boys from the Bush?
Yes.
By Lee Kernaghan.
Yeah. Let's listen to a little bit of this. Fun. It's a fun one.
Been shearing sheep. We've been mustering stock. We've been culling out roots. We've been spraying the crops.
Love it.
Me every time.
We've been
Bruce.
droving cattle up an old stock route. Now it's Saturday night. We pile in the ute. We're the boys from the bush and we're back in town.
Very easy to sing along to there. It's catchy chorus.
Dogs in the back and the foot goes down. We're live members of the Outback Club. We're the boys from the bush, come in from the scrub.
It's fun because there's that group of guys that they bust their butts and then they go have a little fun at the bar.
Oh yeah. So hearing this song too reminded me of one of my favorite songs of all time, which I never get sick of. So talk about desert island songs, is Thin Lizzy's Boys Are Back in Town. So it's got very similar themes, obviously completely different genres, but the theme is like a timeless theme. And that's what it reminded me of. I'm like, this is a country version of like Boys Are Back in Town kind of a thing. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. And I appreciate the gang vocals of like the chorus, making it sound, I like that. I think it's fun. And it's just a cool song. It actually put me in a really good mood, hearing it. And I was glad Ian, because I like hearing stuff from other countries. So I was like, oh, I bet nobody's like, once again, for saying songs we don't think the others heard before, I'm going to go with one of Ian's suggestions, which also was which was a cool song too. So I like this. I wound up like, wanting to check out more of Lee's work for sure. Some of his other songs, but this was a cool one. So I like it. Indeed.
All right. So where do I rate this one?
Where do you rate it?
I think this is fun. I think I'm just going to nestle this in at four records. I think it's a hit song. It's a hit song. For me, it's not a desert island, eternity playlist, but I really appreciate it. It's a good toe tapper. I'm not going to, skip it. It's fun. And the little tippet of the hat to some of the stuff, exclusively to Australia is super fun.
Yeah, I like that too, which makes all the sense in the world, but it does make it like more fun. Yeah, the ruse line is it gets me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jeff, what do you think?
I'm going to give it a 3.8.
Okay.
All right.
and I'm gonna say that part of it because I'm just not. It's a little too produced for me. The gang vocals seem a little too perfect, a little too choir
Okay.
to me. That being said, I would be remiss if I didn't recognize that, and it's probably the mention of the Kangaroos. I do think it has a good pocket.
Yeah. Yes. Good point.
But as most kangaroos do.
Sorry. I was late on the drop with that one. I was like trying to hit it, and I'm
tell
like, wait a second, it's a
What
little
rookie?
further away.
It did not
What
connect
rookies?
right away. It did not. It took me way too long.
Sorry,
When I
I'll-
rewatch this and watch the giggle set in, I'll
Yeah.
laugh.
In post, I'll shorten that so it makes take out the time.
Here's
there.
your sign.
I was like, what is Chris doing that to? Outstanding. All right. So coming in at 4 records and 3.8.
Funny.
Ian,
This is the
wonderful.
section. This is the section that I will clip and tag you in so we can circulate it on Instagram so everybody knows that Amanda missed it.
Put the
Perfect.
question bubble in my head right here. You're like, huh? Like, what are we applauding? What are we doing here? All right, Ian, great
Cool.
suggestion.
Yeah, thank you, Ian.
So much. All right, Jeff, moving on to your second and final song for us. What did you send us for that one?
Yeah. So again, kind of in keeping with the idea of telling my story, I selected a song called "That's Just Me." It was recorded by Tim McGraw on the All I Want album in '95. But more importantly, when I was auditioning for Tim McGraw, somebody that lived in his apartment complex, he was saying, I'm looking for a piano player, and somebody in his apartment complex recommended me.
Oh my.
And that somebody was Daryl Dodd, who was in my first band. He and I went to college at Baylor University together. And Daryl wrote the song that Tim McGraw ended up recording. And Daryl also has his own version of the song that he recorded at a live concert at Billy Bob's. So, but yeah, we toured with it, and it was on Tim's record, and it was kind of a cool full circle moment for me to see all of my people coalesce. So, yeah.
I love that. And I'm going to ask you a question about Tim McGraw while we're on the subject of him before we dive into this song. At what point when you were on stage with him and you're performing with him, because you said some of the songs, you started with him, you were a couple years out of him being that showstopper name. Was there a moment in time that you knew this is it? There's no going back?
No.
Okay.
No, because I knew that, I mean, there might have been a point where there's no going back for Tim McGraw, where he had first hit, and then you're waiting on your second one, you're waiting on your third one, you're watching crowds get bigger, you're recognizing that they know some of the words and they're singing back. But the industry is very volatile, and at no point did I always assume I would be there for 4 years or 8 years or 10 years or 15 years. Ultimately, I was there for 18 years. Because there's lots of stories of record labels and management and people having opinions and, accidents and life and marriages and all kinds of things that can get in the way. So there was no point where I thought, okay, we're on autopilot now.
Okay.
But there was definitely a point where we would realize probably first real acknowledgement of that would have been when he did I Like It, I Love It, which was the first song off of his third album, but second successful album. When we did that, there was probably kind of a recognition that, okay, if our next song is not a hit, we'll still have another chance. We don't have to assume that, if we don't maintain momentum, we'll lose it forever. I don't know if that's a good answer to your question, but yeah.
No, it does. And I oftentimes don't know when that time would be when they know that things have shifted. And I think you said it so perfectly when people start knowing the lyrics to your songs when you're performing, I think, yeah, like what a acknowledgement that they're listening behind the scenes, not just because someone drug them to a concert. I think that's really neat.
Well, there is that. Now there is the other side of that too, where I could sit up there and say, oh man, they think I'm all this and I'm great because everybody's screaming and singing. And I'm like, okay, that's true, but I can see the people in the row and they're singing the wrong words. And the song's been number one for 2 months. So
Yeah.
so I'm not all that.
Amanda loves making up her own words to songs.
Yeah.
But I don't know them. I just make them up.
Yeah. Belting it out with all the confidence in the world.
Absolutely. Blue could have easily been Rue.
Yeah.
And I would have felt comfortable singing it that way.
Oh yeah, you would have been like, "What? That's the lyrics."
Yeah.
Well,
You know, one of the things that that I really liked about That's Just Me, just to get back to the song, is because I know Daryl as a friend and as a writer, and known him for over 30 years, and he and I talked on the phone last week. It's especially fun because I know, you know, he wrote the song by himself, and I know him, and I know it's about him. I know that it's authentic to who he is, which is why it connected with Tim and what people look for in songs they choose to record. So yeah, it's fun to see my past, you know, stay in for the ride.
You know, and I just want to say, Jeff, one of the things I appreciated about this too, the song that you picked, was that I like that it's an album closer to this record. And I was like, because I was, you know, as I always do, I go in, I look, and I'm like, oh, there's nothing really popping up. So let me go to the actual, where is it sequenced in the record? And I'm like, oh, it's the album closer. So it's a nice deep cut, which I appreciate. I always appreciate a good deep cut. So, and album closers in particular are always good, because it's like, you know, how an album starts and how it finishes, especially, you know, when albums really mattered, like when people put albums together and everything was sequenced. Yeah. It's that way for a reason. I like that you went with an album closer, and I could see why, and why this was an album closer, because this riff is awesome. This is a good riff.
Yeah.
I dig it. Well, let me play a little bit of this. Right, let's hear a little bit of Tim McGraw's tune here. And as I get Spotify back up, here it is. That's Just Me.
And I'll admit, as you're pulling it up, I knew of this song, but I did not connect with it and listen to it frequently, you know, so I didn't know the words.
She made up her own words.
I did. I hummed a lot to it.
All right, let's hear a little bit of.
My old boots are worn from the hard roads I took, and I'm proud to be my daddy's son.
This is a very it's rocking. It's like,
and mama taught me how to work and not to quit until the job's done. Well, I may not be high society, but I got all I need, and that's just me. I'm living in real good company, but that's just me.
Yeah, that riff. It's a real Stevie Ray Vaughan quality to it.
Yeah.
And I will say, this song for me in the 90s did not hit the way it hits me now as an adult, where I think the lyrics mean so much. My boots are worn from the roads I've taken, you know, lyrics like that. I'm so relatable to that.
Yeah.
And I am just me. I'm uniquely me, and it's just take it or leave it. I really appreciate it more as an adult now than I did certainly back in the 90s.
Sure. I mean, back then, I'm sure even the diehard Tim McGraw fans at the time that pale in comparison to, green grass grows or down on the farm or the things that they heard on the radio repeatedly, So no, I totally get that. I just kind of find it affirming. It feels a little bit like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do when my past stumbles into my present and things start overlapping. Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, your past sets the way for your future. I mean, that just says and speaks so much volumes of you and your talent and the relationships that you've built and for people to never give up, because you just never know what opportunity is around the corner just because someone mentions your name. So if you are in the music industry, take these words that Jeff is speaking as an encouraging thing to keep going, because you just never know that next opportunity could be a Tim McGraw situation.
That's right.
Maybe.
That's right.
Maybe.
So,
yeah. You just don't know.
You don't know. All right. So Amanda.
Yeah.
Where are we rating Tim McGraw's That's Just Me? Where is this landing for you?
This isn't one of my favorites, as I've already said, but I really do just like his vocals, his sound, his delivery. He's one of my favorites from the 90s. So I'm coming in at like 4.3. I feel comfortable because his other songs to me are much higher fours.
Yeah. So I appreciated this song. I liked it. I thought it was good. I like that it's an album closer and a deep cut. So that's how I look at it. I like the guitar riff. It's very rockin', super upbeat.
Mm-hmm.
I think a great way to close out that record, even though I haven't listened to the whole record as from start to finish, but I get why it's an album closer. I would say though, out of all the songs, it wasn't my most favorite, but I like it though. So that being said, it's not getting like a low rating or anything like that. So relax, everybody. I'm not giving Tim McGraw better, but I'm going to give it a 3.8. So it's like
fair.
Right on the cusp for me. And I think if I spend more time with it, I think I'd probably grow to like it a little bit. But I do like the song. I mean, I'm not going to skip it. So it's definitely not a skippable song. It's not getting skipped. No skips. So far, I wouldn't skip any of the songs I've heard today. So it's nothing's getting skipped.
Well, and here's the thing, Chris. You have to recognize that you're going to get a little grace from me because this album came out in 95. I didn't start playing on Tim's records until 2002. Okay. So as long as nothing I played on gets less than a 4, you're in good shape. So
you have a Song Swap Showdown guarantee on that.
So we'll know for the 2000s countries where we stand.
Yep.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. So I'm safe.
I love it. All right. To wrap up our rating and reviewing our 90s country, I'm giving you guys my final song, which is Just to See You Smile by no other than someone we just discussed, Tim McGraw. Boy, do I love this song.
Yeah, this is an interesting song, and I was like, oh wow, we had two Tim McGraw songs. So much different though than the one we just heard. That's Just Me. So big difference. Why did you pick this song?
So
what's the story behind this?
I also have the CD. I'm just one of those people. This song always spoke to me. When I got that CD, I just really, really loved it. And when Marcus and I started dating, this is kind of that song that I have that plays through my head even in today, because he can't stand me half the days, but he tolerates me and does everything just to see me smile.
Wait,
so
what is his line? I hate that.
I love you. It's just Marcus's plight. And so when I hear this song, it just really this sounds so silly, but it just makes me fall in love with him every single time over again, because at the end of the day, through all of our trials, all of our things, he just wants to make me and our family smile and be happy. And to me, that's just so important. So anytime I hear that song, it's just a constant reminder of his plight, and he really isn't being punished in this world, yet Owen and I get extra rewarded.
I mean, I really like the lyrics in this song. I
Yeah,
really,
it's really
really,
sweet.
it is. It's very nice, and you can tell that. I got a feeling. I don't know. It's like, are these written? These got to be written from experience. I would think.
I would
mean, they
assume.
sound so like personal. So,
Mhm.
Jeff, what do you think of this song? Is this a song that you were very familiar with in the Tim McGraw catalog?
Oh, sure,
Yeah.
sure. Now, now I will say, this is one of those songs that I never really got to the degree that the fans got it.
Okay.
Don't Take the Girl was also one of those. They're both huge career records for
Mhm.
Tim. In fact,
Okay.
I think Just to See You Smile had the longest chart run of any country song in the 90s.
so.
I think it was
Oh yeah, it's been
and I think
multiple
it's
weeks.
fine. It's not that I never liked the song. I'm fine with it being a hit. I don't understand it being a career song, record breaker kind of a song. That I don't really, it didn't really hit me that way. The way like,
Okay.
the way some of his other songs is Live Long or
Sure.
Die. I get
Yeah.
that, I mean,
Yeah.
even something like that,
Mhm.
was a huge record. I get how that resonates with people.
Yeah.
Just to See You Smile, I get it. But it's kind of interesting. And it's even more interesting that this is the last one of the songs that we're doing, because we were talking at the beginning of how in the 90s, when you got success as a songwriter, other artists would start looking for what you were doing as a songwriter. They would start. It was very kind of a inclusive thing. And, this song was written by Mark Nessler and Tony Martin, who, Tony Martin was also a writer on Rock from the Sun for Joe Diffie. He wrote You Look My Shirt for Keith Urban, who we've talked about.
Yeah.
Mark Nessler, his co-writer, was from Beaumont, where Chestnut was from. I mean,
Isn't it crazy?
It's funny how it all everybody kind of circles back around each other, and that's because ultimately, particularly back in the 90s, there were so many successful songwriters. Just because we're selling records, they could afford to devote their life to being a songwriter, which you can't do to that degree now.
Yeah.
Such a good point.
So it's a very different environment, but so at some point it's like, well, how do we know? We can't listen to everything. How do we listen? Well, let's go see that guy that just wrote that great song for Tim McGraw. Let's see what else he has.
Yeah.
So you see some of the same names come back around, and and I'm sure there's, they've got other songs that we recorded as well.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
Yeah, and a little bit of facts too about the song is that this won Single of the Year award at the 1998 Country Music Awards, and it also received a Grammy nomination for Best Male Country Vocal Performance in that year. So,
yeah,
song is definitely a very popular song. Obviously, once again, I didn't know that it's a signature song, but I get it because it is got, it's a ballad, right? And so when I think of like my comparison to something like this is to like, back in like the mid to late 80s, like you had a lot of the, the pop metal bands or the hard rock bands, and like, the power ballad was like, all of a sudden these power ballads become like the signature song that pushed the band over. And you're like, this is not the band's best song, like by any stretch, but it became a signature song because it was the one that broke through, got them on the charts, found them a whole new reach of fans, so on and so forth. So then it would become like, that's the song, but it's like a power ballad, which really isn't what the whole band or their music really sounds like, but they've got these one or two songs that are like just really broke through. So what you're saying, Tim, Jeff, is like, I feel like it's sort of like that, like there's a signature song for him, but it's like, is more like the power ballad type of song that broke through, gained him a lot of new fans, and it's something he has to play. Is that kind of where you're at with that?
Honestly, I don't think it's because of I wouldn't use the words power ballad. I would say that as a player, again, we got Next Thing Smoking, we got something like that, stuff that I can really flex on. It's not one of those songs, but playing it in a show, when we're playing an arena, I mean, this is the song that he can just sit on the front of the stage and connect to everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice.
And that I wonder how much that contributed, because we were touring back then. When this was on the radio, we were doing 250 shows a year. I mean, we were constantly gone.
Holy
so so he would have that moment with the audience every night, you know, with that song. So would the song have connected the same way with radio alone? I don't know. And we'll never know.
That's a great point, though, Jeff.
But it worked live for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that makes, and I think that makes a big case too. Like having that connection with your audience live, and it becomes a really good live song with that moment. I think that's big. So that's a key point.
I think that's not to bring up Elvis, but I will. I think part of why some of his songs did become so popular was that same concept, Jeff. He would give his scarf to somebody and he would sing to the audience and connect with them, that I think they walked away. Even the people watching him on television walked away feeling like he just sung to me. And there is that connection that I don't think that radio alone can do. So I think you're onto something with that description of you don't get it, but the opportunity the song allowed could have been that maker there of opportunity.
If I had been in the audience, maybe I would get it.
True.
But I was behind him.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it just never got the side of that song that everybody else in the audience got.
Right.
Totally fair. Oh, I love it. Great story.
Let's play a little bit of Just to See You Smile by Tim McGraw so everybody else can hear this. Apparently I'm the only one who's never really heard it before today. So
it's okay.
But I was far from being made of gold. I don't know how, but I scraped up the money. I just never could quite tell you no. Just like when you were leaving Amarillo, taking that new job in Tennessee. And I quit mine so we could be together. I can't forget the way you looked at me. Just to see you smile, I'd do anything that you wanted me to. When all is said and done, I'd never count the cost. It's worth all that's lost, just to see you smile.
And I don't know how
a lot of great guitar work on this song. Wow. There's a lot going on there. And you don't think about it and you go, wow, like a lot of guitar work going on there.
This is amazing guitar, and I'm like, the lyrics are so romantical.
No, but I like the lyrics, but I was like really like, because I've already listened to this song a bunch of times, and I'm like, now I'm listening to it again, like just like not, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of guitar stuff going on.
Oh yeah.
We
had some busy boys.
Yeah. Paul, how haven't you heard this one, Chris? I'm getting yelled at. Because, Paul, I don't listen to It's Out of Country. That's why.
I love it.
I love it. I knew this was going to be this episode where everybody goes, what do you mean you haven't heard this?
Finally, the tables have turned. And
that's what I say. Amanda, how have you not heard Back in Black? Like, it's the same feeling.
Right. All right. So how do you guys rate the magical song?
I'm getting a shame on you from Paula. She's shaming me. Shame.
You can make up for it in the rating.
Well, we'll see about that.
All right. Where's your guys' numbers coming in?
Well, I'll let our guest weigh in first.
All right. Yeah? What's that?
You know, it's this one's tricky for me because because I recognize from the shows we've done and the audience and the impact, I recognize how significant it is to so many. I guess, recognizing that it is responsible for a big part of my career. I feel like I need to give it a 4.5 on behalf of everyone that has come to hear me play it.
I love that.
I still want to leave, a few points in there for me to find something to show off on, which is not this one, but yeah, that's what we'll do.
Okay. I can receive that 4.5 knowing that you certainly have a better favorite that would be holding more points. So Chris, where are you coming in?
Paul, Jeff might get in trouble with this rating.
Not at all.
Not at all. No, I think 4.5 is very respectable. I think that's great.
I do too.
So out of all the songs I've listened to, this is the one that I feel like I'm sort of on the fence with, in the sense of like,
okay,
I really like the lyrics. I like the instrumentation. It's not as like, I don't know, maybe I don't want to, it's not as fun as the other ones, but I like that it's different. So this is the one where I'm like, I now knowing that it's such a huge song, like, okay, I get that. I'm not in the camp of like,
Chris is trying to really like defend his rating that's coming.
Well, because it's not a 2. Okay. I'm not doing anything. Like it's not in the 1 or the 2 category.
Okay. All right. Paula, we have hope here.
Paula is just roasting me in the comments right now. By the way, she's all over me. No, I'm gonna nestle this in. I think it's a 3.5. I find it's a nice song. I think it's sweet. I think the lyrics are very sentimental. I do like the guitar work on it. I don't know if it's a song I'm going to go back and I like it. I don't know if it's something I'm going to go back and listen to, but I feel like now that I've heard it, see, this happens a lot on the show, Amanda, where like, you'll give me a song I've never heard before, like, and people will be yelling at me in the comments, and then I hear it everywhere. After the show, I hear it everywhere. Now I know this is a song I'm going to wind up hearing everywhere because we just talked about it, and, we had all this discussion, and I didn't realize it was this big of a hit of a song. And now I'm going to wind up hearing it everywhere I go because of it. But
well, and here's the thing that you don't know, Chris, but a lot of people watching this are probably thinking this. They think you are talking about Tim McGraw's song Everywhere.
Right.
Because
good
song Everywhere.
True.
That you've heard everywhere. So well, thank you, Paula. I don't
Yeah, Paul is saying maybe his rating will go higher if he hears Jeff playing it. You're right, Paula. When and if I ever see Jeff actually playing, maybe it will go, because I'll be like, oh, now I saw Jeff playing it. Now it's a 5.
No, it does make a difference. It does make a difference. Well, I think both of those are very respectable scores for Just to See You Smile by Tim McGraw. And I will, before we conclude our final ratings, what would be, Jeff, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here, your favorite Tim McGraw song, since we featured him twice on this show? What would be your favorite if you had to choose?
Certainly one of the fun ones to really play is a song called "That's Why God Made Mexico." It's it wasn't like one of his huge hits, but it's very piano driven. It's got a really neat kind of island groove to it, and we performed it many times just as a piano vocal, without the band, just me and him. So that would definitely be one of my favorites.
I'm gonna check that one out. I'm writing that one down.
Very good.
I don't know that song, but it sounds like a good one.
Absolutely. Oh, this has been quite the episode. I have particularly loved it because I just love all things 90s country. And I know Paula is a big fan of 90s country as well, because she's a country fan. So this is, I mean, to start out our new year with this being the episode, I think it's really, really amazing. And I'm almost nervous to spin the wheel to see what the next
Well, here we
is
go.
going to be,
Yeah.
because it's probably going to be something really hard for me.
Yes. So, so here we go, everybody. So, yeah, first of all, I just want to say real quick before you spin the wheel, Jeff, thank you for coming on. Thanks for playing with us today. Thanks for contributing. It's been awesome having you on. I feel like I agree with him, man. This was a great way to kick off the 4th season of Song Swap Showdown. And for once, it was a little bit of a switcheroo where I was in the hot seat of listening to stuff. But hey, that's his music, and this is why I love music, because we get to experience and talk about new things. I get to listen to new stuff that I hadn't heard before, and discover some new artists. And as Amanda says, as I've gotten older, I've gotten wiser. I've become way less of a music snob than I was back in my 20s and even my 30s. But I love music, and I think that there's so much music out there to explore and listen to. And for anybody to just be like, I don't like this without ever hearing it or listening to it, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. So there's just, different genres exist for a reason, and, give it a try. Even if you don't think you've ever liked it before, just give it a try. Maybe you'll find something you like. May not be your favorite, but music is music. It's good. It's good for the soul.
Absolutely. And Jeff, we would
no.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I appreciate, being invited to participate. It was funny that, when the theme came up, I was like, well, what do I know? Oh, that was kind of my entire launch of my career was 90s country. And then, and when I was out on the road with him, I met Chris Cagle, whose career was more in the 2000s. And I'm on the road with him and all the stuff that I picked up, through them, I'm passing back down to other artists now. So, but no, it's fun to be able to not just go through some of those songs, but go through them with people that really care about them, and are paying attention and have educated opinions. So I appreciate you guys asking me to do it. It's fun.
It's been a great time. And before we spin the wheel, I do just want to make sure that everybody knows where to find you. You have a great new podcast that you're doing, which is McMahon and Keys, which I think is wonderful. One thing that you're passionate about is giving your knowledge that you've gotten from this industry and sharing it with maybe some newcomers or some people who just are hungry to get that launch. So tell us a little bit about your podcast and maybe some of the up and comers that we should really keep our eyes out for the future.
Well, thank you. I started doing my own podcast just because I kind of looked at what was out there, and I kind of felt like there were two different groups of podcasts. There was guys like me that have been around and done a bunch of stuff that talk to other people that have been around and done a bunch of stuff. And then there's brand new wannabe radio people that want to interview brand new artists, but they don't really know how to guide them in any way in a positive direction. So, and I'm not interested in just talking about what I did 30 years ago. If I learned something 30 years ago and I can share it and we can use it to help you get closer to your dream, I'm all for it. So, that was kind of what we decided to do with McMahon on Keys. The idea of that being, I was a sideman for Tim McGraw playing on his songs. I'm a sideman for Chris Cagle playing on his songs. This Friday we're releasing a new song for Maddie True, who's an artist that I, work with and manage and shepherd. And what I do for her is what I did for Tim McGraw. Play the song, get them closer to where they're trying to get. And whether it's any of the artists that we've had on, this past season, pop artists, country artists, Maddie True, Emma Rowley, who we get to talk about her Broadway debut, in theater when she was 10, 11 years old, and her records that are coming out, and some of the stuff that we're getting ready to come out with season 2. It's just a way to elevate the conversation, not just for people that already have access to record labels and Grammys and all of those things, but maybe somebody that we can push a little further up the hill. So McMahon on Keys. Yeah. Easy to find.
I love that. And you're doing that all while still actively touring and all of the other things that you do. I applaud you. You're amazing. You still got such a future in this industry. And I know Chris and I are just so lucky to have met you through this little thing called Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Chris and I also were introduced to each other through. So that has definitely been a huge blessing for us. So,
yes.
All right. With that, Chris, let's
100%.
figure out next week's theme.
Let's do it, everybody.
Oh, Lord.
It's time to
country.
That's right. 2000s country. Only stuff that Jeff played on.
We'll add that to the wheel.
Yeah. We'll add that to the wheel. Yeah. All right, Amanda. What time is it?
It is time to spin the wheel of show themes.
All right.
Can't get past how much I love that every week.
I know, every week. So Amanda's favorite part of the show is listening to that little the little bumper for the
it's great.
for the Wheel of Shows themes. All right, so here we go. Wheel of Show themes.
Graphic thing.
Thank you. Yeah, we have our little wheel. It's packed with ideas. Once again, the Wheel of Show themes is how we determine the following week's show, in which Amanda and I will then choose songs for each other and swap them based on the theme. The themes are on the wheel are themes that Amanda and I have come up with and themes from our community. You guys do such a great job always suggesting great ideas for show themes. And so this is comprised of our stuff in the community. So here we go. The first spinning of the wheel of 2024. Here we go, everyone.
Let's do this.
Let's see what cornball theme we're going to have for next week.
Oh boy, it's so tiny I can't even see that anymore because there's so many out there.
Songs that get stuck in your head.
All right, thank you.
Submitted from Tina.
Good. All right, so man, we all get those songs.
Paul is so fancy.
It is fancy. All right,
yes.
Songs that get stuck in your head.
Songs that get stuck in your head.
And
so
that's very
broad.
Very broad, because is it going to be that it just got stuck into my head like now, or I'm going to remember a song that got stuck in my head for forever for another reason? I mean, it's very
or a jingle
or a jingle.
Right now I'm obsessed with that. I can't get that stupid Burger King theme out of my head.
Daggone it. You got that right.
Okay. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. It's stuck in my head. Which is what jingles are supposed to do.
Don't think at all about blop blop fizz fizz. Oh, what a relief it is. Just don't even think. Don't even think about that one, because that'll get stuck if it even occurs to you.
Oh, you're right.
So
you're right.
Don't think about it. Don't think about it.
Gosh,
yeah.
It's so true. Okay, so
boy.
that's gonna be, and you know what, people, this could be something that really triggers people, because sometimes those songs that get in people's heads are maddening. Like, get out of my head.
I know. You just can't stop.
Terrible song that you don't even like, that's just in there.
That's right. So it could be even a song we don't like, but yet it's stuck in our head. So
I know, and I don't want to say that I enjoy Taylor Swift. I don't love her, but her "It's Me," like hi, like it's me, hi, I'm the promise.
Gets stuck in your head.
Always in my head. I just spoiled the song, probably.
Yeah, but what I like about this theme is that it's stuck in your head. So what it's stuck in my head may not necessarily be stuck in your head. So this is going to be a very weirdly personal journey, I think, for us, and then also a nice psychological discovery of what gets stuck in the head. You know,
pull up the serial killer board.
Songs that are stuck in Amanda's head.
I think Jeff just got a small taste of how this works on today's episode.
Oh, man. Okay.
All right.
Woo. All right. So, guys, next week's theme is songs that are stuck in your head. Let the suggestions start rolling. You can leave them here. Of course, we'll post it in our Facebook group, which is 100% free to join. And we'll post it there as well. So you guys can leave all your comments there. But we'd love to hear what you guys think, because you never know, much like today, songs that you suggested wound up in our playlist. So for me, I definitely had 2 community suggestions be my song. So we love always hearing from everybody and what your suggestions could be. So please let them roll. Paul is saying, but once you get them out of your heads, they're going to be stuck in ours.
Oh, sorry. You're going to have to take one for the team, Paula.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. This will be our most hated episode coming up.
Probably what would be the most viral.
Yeah.
We can only hope.
Yeah. She goes, so I might skip next week because I don't know what's stuck in your old heads. Well,
I love it.
I mean, I'll give you once again another hint. There you go.
It could be anything.
It could be anything, according to this graphic. So many strings. All right. Well, hey, guys, listen, this was such a great episode. Thank you so much for everybody who tuned in, played along today, left comments. You guys are awesome. Paula, thank you so much. Chris, Mark Ronick, Dave Mattingly, Ian, and anybody else who was watching live that didn't comment. We love you. We appreciate you. Please, if you're watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and the little bell so that way you get notified every time we put new episodes or drop new videos and we go live, which is every Monday at 8:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can watch all live episodes or full episodes of the show on demand over there on YouTube, as well as other things such as song reviews, other funny videos, clips we put out there all week long. And of course, you can listen to us on the go wherever you get podcasts, full episodes. And now we also have our little quick hits that you can listen to as well, which are just one song reviews pulled from full episodes of Song Swap Showdown. Jeff, once again, thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for contributing. Thanks for having fun with us today. It was awesome. Loved it. I loved it.
This was 2 hours you'll never get back.
That is correct. That's correct. Yeah.
And we will be sure to put all of Jeff's links in our show notes. So be sure to follow Jeff and support all of his amazing adventures and just be on the journey with him. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Absolutely. Yeah. Please make sure you follow Jeff and all the artists that he's working with. And of course, as we always like to say, hey, all the creators that you're following, that you like, please follow them, subscribe them, support them. We all do this because we love doing what we do. So please support another creator out there by just even taking out a little quick second just to follow them. Hit that subscribe button. It does. It means the world, and it helps all creators get discovered. So please do that. And with all that being said, we will see you guys next week for another full episode of Song Swap Showdown with songs that get stuck in your head. All right, everybody. See ya.
Bye.
To get notified every single time we drop a new episode of Chris and Amanda's Song Swap Showdown, just hit that follow button wherever you get your podcasts. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor of the show, please use the email address in our show notes and we'll get right back to you. And last but not least, please feel free to follow us over on our social accounts on Instagram and TikTok at Song Swap Showdown, or join our ever-growing community in our Facebook group by using the link in our show notes. Thanks for listening.